Hi there, it's Sandra from Savvy Teaching Tips, and today we're going to talk about hundreds charts. And if you wouldn't mind, just like and subscribe below and ring that bell for reminders if you want to see more of my videos. So there are two types of 100 charts out there. There is the up to 120 chart, and there is the up to 100 chart. And it just really depends what your curriculum is as to which chart you would use. But for today's purposes, we'll just call these hundreds charts. The purpose of 100s charts is to provide a framework for students to think about the base 10 number system. It lines all the numbers up in order so you can find the patterns more easily. And it allows students to build a mental model in their heads of how the numbers work together. Hundreds charts allow children to explore concepts from counting and to adding two-digit numbers. So counting to 100 and skip counting are just a few of the math concepts that you can use with a hundreds chart. Once your students have mastered the skip counting, you can move on to more difficult concepts like place value, addition, subtraction. Once you start to do addition and subtraction with numbers larger than 10, it's much easier for kids to conceptualize if they have the hundreds chart with them. They need that solid understanding of tens place and ones place before they can move on to even bigger numbers with hundreds place. So a hundreds chart helps with that because it gives the visual organization of the numbers. So much like a graph organizes information, and we can take that graph and analyze which is bigger, which is greater, which is fewer, which is less than, all that. A hundreds chart organizes the numbers to 100. And once the kids understand those patterns, it becomes easier for them to manipulate those numbers when they're doing things like addition and subtraction. So what does this mean? Well, you need to introduce the chart to the class. So I'm going to start by showing you how I would introduce to a group of first graders. And I'm going to use the 100 chart because that's what my curriculum has. So here's the 100 chart. And I'm with a group of first graders. So they might have seen this in kindergarten, but we're going to go over it again. So some first graders will have minimal experience with this. Some will have seen it a lot in kindergarten, but some will need more time to examine it. And some first graders are still struggling to count to 100. So second and third graders don't need as much time on the beginning of this, but it's great to review these features. So I'm working with a group of first graders. And personally, because I teach in an area that has a lot of English language learners, I review the vocabulary. So we're going to talk about what rows are and what columns are. I'm not going to assume that they know those words. So we're going to talk about rows go across. And I would have the kids stand up and we'll do it with our hands. Across. Rows are across and columns are down. So we're going to talk about the columns and the rows. Today, we're going to focus on the columns, the way it goes up and down. But in order to do that, let's look at the first row. So let's count these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We know those numbers. We've seen those numbers lots of times, and they're all from 1 to 10, and it's important that they're all 10 there because we have a base 10 system. So then I point to the column that has the 10 at the top, and I'll say to the students, what do you notice about these numbers? What's the same about all the numbers in this column? Right here, all those numbers, what's the same? Usually somebody gets it right away, but occasionally they need a little reminder. But the answer you're looking for is every number in this column has a 0 in it. And you know, the brighter kids will be like, oh, there's a 0 in the ones place. Yay. So and if they say things like, oh, I see the counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're like, stop. Are those all the same? No, we're okay. Yes, you're right. There is a counting pattern there too, but we're going to talk about that later. Right now, we're going to talk about all those zeros because the zeros are what we're focusing on right now in the ones. And we can go back and say, wow, you think there's a 0 in all the ones places? Let's just check that. Is there a 0 here? Yes, there is. Is there a 0 here? Yes, there is. Is there a 0 here? Well, there's 2 zeros here. So yes, definitely there's a 0 in that one. And then we'll go back and I'll do some skip counting because I want them to connect the skip counting to the hundreds chart. They might get this up easily. They might not. They might just be totally blown away by this. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Wow. Mind blown, some of them. I tell them this is a pattern. It's a growing pattern. We've talked about growing patterns. We've already learned about patterns. And we're making those connections, constantly trying to make all the connections between the different things that we've learned in math. So this is a counting pattern, or we can call it a growing pattern. Now, with second and third graders, I would also point out the addition that's happening here. So we are here on this one, number 10. What is 10 plus 10? Well, 10 plus 10 is 20. And a lot of second graders will probably already know this. So what number do you think is underneath the 10? Well, let's say 10 plus 10 is, it's 20. Okay, so what do you think 20 plus 10 is? Well, 20 plus 10 is 30. Huh, what number's underneath? Let's see. Ooh, mind blown, you know. So after a few couples of those, maybe we'll say, what about, let's go down here to this number. This is the number 70. 70 plus 10, what do you think 70 plus 10 is? 70 plus 10. And then you can even say, that's right, Jordy, the answer is 80. Can you tell me, can you explain your thinking? How did you come up with that? And they'll probably say something along the lines of, well, 7 plus 1 is 8. But anything that makes sense in that, as long as they can explain their thinking, then you've done your job properly, basically. So what we've learned here in this row is that if you add 10 each time, you go to the number underneath it. I wonder if that works in this column here. If I have the number 1, what is 1 plus 10? So some of them will know right away. Some of them will be counting on their fingers. Let's do that one, 1 plus 10. And I'll say to them, if you don't know what to do, you have 10 fingers. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See what number we get. And so we'll get the number 11. Look at that, number 11. Fantastic. But some kids need more of a visual. So using a manipulative like unifix cubes is a great way to do this. So what we're going to do now, boys and girls, is we are going to try this with unifix cubes. So let's see. Jessie, will you come up here in front of the class? I have this tub of unifix cubes beside me. Will you take out one and will you hold the one for this box here? Okay, so Jesse's standing there and he's holding 1 cube. Now, we need plus 10. Okay, well, Bobby, can you come up here and can you put 10 cubes together? And this is where you're trying to manage your time. So if Bobby can do this quite quickly, pick a bright kid, he can add it quickly. If you get a kid who's a little slower and have to count each one each time, then I would just reach down and put 10 together quickly and say, oh, everybody, let's just double check. This is 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Give it to Bobby, stand up. There, great. So we've got, Jesse has 1 cube in his hand and Bobby has a rod in his hand. Okay, so great. Now, how many cubes are there all together? Well, 1 plus 10. Let's count the cubes. And we start with counting Jesse's 1, and then we count Bobby's 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down. We have 11. Great. So we know that this works on this side for this one. What about the next one? The next one's 21. How are we going to do this? I think we might need another rod of 10. Or you can say, how are we going to do this? Does anybody have an idea what we could do with these unifix cubes? So draw the answer out from the kids. So the next person will come, I'll say, Susie, can you come up and make a rod of 10? And can you stand next to Bobby? And so now we have 2 rods of 10. We have Susie's rod and we have Bobby's rod, and Jesse has 1. So we know that Jesse plus Bobby is 11. I'm going to ask Susie to stand closer to them. I wonder how many we have now all together. And he guesses. And some of them will know to look right up here right away and say, oh, 21. And if they get that answer, I'm like, great, how did you get that answer? And they said, they did it like this. Well, let's count the rods. If we count all those rods, then we should be able to figure out whether or not our theory is right, that every time you go down is plus 10. So I would do this a few times. And let's say we've done this about 4 times and we're down here at the number 51. Okay, everybody put your rod in put your cube down. and you guys are going to go sit on the carpet, and I'm going to pull up some other kids. Remember, we're going back to my philosophy of keep the kids moving to keep them engaged, and especially the squirrely ones. Get those kids up here with you right away so that they're not getting distracted and they're actually learning and focusing on what's going on. Okay, so we have our 5 rods here. We've got 5 children up here. We've got another child up here. And this, I'll say to this child, I don't know, Miguel, you have 1 cube. Now, let's see if we're on her, so that means we've been doing this column. Let's go over here to 4. Let's go to 4. Can you come and make sure you have 4 cubes in your hand? And so he'll come up and make sure he's got 4 cubes. He's not stuck them together because you have to wait till you have 10 to stick them together. He's got 4. And I'll make him stand at the end and I'll say, great, you've got 4 cubes. So 4. If we add 1 more rod, what number do we get? And then let's guess, let's count, and go through the whole thing again with the column number 4. And sometimes I do this. I have a pocket chart that has all these cards, the numbers to 100, and I might turn them over as we add them, or I might put a counter in front of them, or just some sort of a visual reminder. Or if we're doing it just with this kind of paper, I might color that in. We've done that one, we've done that one, so the kids can start to see the patterns. So that is exactly step by step how I would introduce a 100 chart to the class. And like I said before, this works well with 100 chart, with 120 chart, and you can refer back to this. I refer back to this a lot with later lessons, especially with the older children. So it's a great tool to use, and keep that in your teacher toolbox. So that's all for today. And don't forget to check out my Facebook and my Instagram at Savvy Teaching Tips, and my TikTok at Savvy Teaching. Bye for now.